What is going on, everybody? I'm back with another YouTube video. Now, in today's video, guys, we are going to be doing, yet again, another movie review. And today I'm going to be taking another take, messed up last time, at the cheaper by the dozen 2 movies. And we are going to be doing it just like we did with the Daddy Daycare and Daddy Day Camp. We're going to be going over, like, a summary over the 2 movies, comparing them, rating them individually, and I'll tell you which one I think is better. So I have a few announcements to make first. Alright, so first off, really quick, I got a new game, Mortal Kombat 10. I know I'm pretty late on this, but a lot of people have been saying good things about Mortal Kombat, and I never really tried it out, so I figured I'd pick up the game and try it out. I'm probably not going to be streaming this game, but I figured I'd just show you that, so I'll put that on my bed because I'm going to try it later. The next book for Goosebumps that I'm going to be reading, it's probably going to be a while until I start actually picking up this book and reading it, because it is the summer, so kind of like doing other stuff, is going to be The Haunted Mask, so that'll be the next book review. And for planned videos, I think I'm going to be doing an Ireland Boys rant for the next video, probably a gameplay video. I would like to do that, another one of the gameplays, because we've got obviously a plethora of different DVD builds that we could try out, and probably another movie review or something like that. And I think that's really it for new content and stuff like that. So make sure you read the community posts so that you know when that new content is going to come out. Join the Discord. The link will be in the description of every video. And yeah, just keep the Discord lively. Definitely need some life right now. And join my weekend streams. Well, I shouldn't even say weekend streams because school's practically over. And I'm going to be able to stream every day. Now, I'm not going to stream every night, obviously, but I will be able to stream a lot more frequently. I'll be able to play different games, and you won't have to wait a whole weekend. And sometimes during that weekend, I don't really get to play the game a whole lot. Not a lot of people join, but in the summertime, people have plenty of time to join me in that. So let's get started on the movie review. All right, so this is a good family-friendly, fun movie to watch. That both of these movies have some good emotional moments, and I'll go over them individually, tell you what they are about. So let's start with the first one, Cheaper by the Dozen. What is it about? Sounds like an odd name, I know. But what it is about this father. His name is Tom Baker, and the mother, who is Kate Baker, and they're kind of older parents because they have 12 kids. Their oldest child is like 22 in this film, so she lives in her own house. And then her 2 older childs are in high school. And then all of them, it just kind of goes down the line. And their youngest 2 kids are twins. They're like 4 years old. I think they're still in preschool, and they also have a dog. So they have 12 kids in total. And basically the mom and the dad plan to move out of their original home because the dad wants to coach a new football team, and the mom wants to make her own book and have a book tour for it so that she can sell bunches of copies about her family. The book's literally called Cheaper by the Dozen, so that's where they get the name. So they move out of town, but problems start to arise because the kids aren't liking the new town. The dad's having trouble taking care of the kids because he has to manage his football team while also managing his 12 children. Not all 12, because most of them already are responsible, and they have their own car, one of them even has their own home, and it's only the dad who can do this because the mom goes out of town to, of course, do her book tour. So the dad's having lots of trouble with the kids, acting irresponsibly, not behaving well because they're not liking this new town. The kids at the schools, there's like some bullies at school, and obviously they're not with their original friends. Like the oldest son, named Charlie, he is away from his girlfriend, who lived in the town, and I think he also owned like a garage in town, so like he can't be there either. And yeah, there's a whole bunch of other reasons why the kids aren't liking the new town. Like the neighbors are kind of weird in this film. They do a good job. The jokes, I will say this, in comparison to like Daddy Daycare and Daddy Day Camp, the jokes, they have some good kids jokes. They're not like a bunch of bodily jokes. But they also have some good adult humor. That's what I like about Cheaper by the Dozen. The adult humor in here is actually not that bad. The jokes aren't like, jokes you would hear from like The Office or something like that. They're like really, really good, or like stand-up comedy jokes or anything like that. They're nothing like to, you know, they're nothing to give a trophy for, but they're definitely better jokes than most family films. So that's a bonus for this film. And this film has a lot of good emotional moments. I think there's like 3 times in this film where I wanted to cry. And I know for the first time when I watched this film, I cried, especially when the kid is one of the younger kids named Mark. He's kind of like the outsider of the family. He owns a frog and he's kind of like a nerdy kid in the family, but despite that, he's always kind of ruining things, so that the kids in the family kind of make fun of him for that and stuff. So he's kind of like the outsider of the family and stuff like that. At some point in this film, he decides to try to take a bus to go back to Midland, which is their original home town. And the dad eventually finds him because he was missing, so the whole family was trying to find him and stuff like that. And it was just a very, very emotional moment that kind of made me sad. But it was like tears of joy though, kind of. Like a lot of the moments were like either tears of joy or sadness. But it was like nobody died in this film or anything like that. The emotional moments were good, is what I'm trying to say. Like there was another moment where the oldest son, Charlie, he has his own car, so he drives to Midland, and his dad's disappointed in him because I think he's in his senior year, if not maybe junior year. So if his kid misses a bunch of days of school, he's not going to get the diploma that his dad wants from him. So watching that moment was kind of sad. There's just a lot of good moments in this film, and the jokes will kind of make up for those spaces in between and stuff like that. Now, I did look up this movie on Rotten Tomatoes a few days ago, and the ratings weren't good, which is to be expected. The critics didn't like the jokes more than I did. It's probably because the critics are a lot older and stuff like that. I would just ignore the critics on this film. I think they're pretty harsh when it comes to some of the films. The audience score wasn't bad. It was like nearly a 50%. I think it was like a 46%, which isn't bad. It wasn't a terrible rating. Both of these movies practically had the same ratings. So that's what Cheaper by the Dozen, the first one, is about. So basically the theme of Cheaper by the Dozen is sometimes you have to be there for your kids, and this film makes you realize that when you're at home, you don't really realize how much you love home, but when you leave home, you realize how much home means to you. And it also has another theme where it's like sometimes you have to make time to be with your family a lot, and you just can't do too many things at once. So that's basically the theme of Cheaper by the Dozen. Very unique theme that works for the big family and stuff like that. Cheaper by the Dozen 2, however, has a very different theme, and you'll understand that when I explain to you what this movie is about. Basically, the mom and the dad are kind of like, at some point early on in this movie, they're kind of looking at like this book of pictures of the family, and they see pictures of this Lake Winnetka tournament. They saw pictures of this, and I guess the tournament happened many, many years back, and they used to traditionally, I think every year, go to Lake Winnetka to have this tournament with other big families. So the other big family in this film that we're focused on is the Murtaugh family. And the Murtaugh family is a family of 8, plus the dad, plus the mom, so it's technically 10. And they kind of are pretty competitive with the Bakers. So what happens is the Bakers decide to go to Lake Winnetka, not knowing that the Murtaugh family is here. They used to, compete with them a lot when they traditionally went here years back. So they decide to go there one last time before the summer ends. And as they go there, they realize that the family's there, and the family actually owns most of the lake now. Jimmy Murtaugh, the dad of the family, he owns like this big mansion that people who go to the lake, they go there to like have like a lunch or do activities at. Like there's like a water slide there, or they can do stuff. They can use some of their equipment there to do ski boarding or anything on the lake, lake stuff. And when the family goes here, Tom's kind of getting a little bit envious of Jimmy Murtaugh because he kind of has more of the luxurious stuff. The kids kind of seem to like the dad more, so he's getting pretty jealous of Murtaugh for that, and they start getting pretty competitive with each other. The kids start becoming more irresponsible, and the two dads, they start to kind of compete with each other, get angry at each other over certain stuff. And eventually, the Tom Baker decides to agree on doing the tournament this year with the Murtaugh family, and the family doesn't really like this because the mom and the rest of the family realize that this isn't for the family. This is because Tom is jealous of Jimmy, and they just want to compete with each other because they kind of are jealous with each other. So the family doesn't like this, and the dad gets really competitive. He kind of forces his family to do exercises and stuff like that to prepare for the tournament, and he just gets too extreme with it and stuff like that. So on the day of the tournament, most of his family decides not to go there because they're kind of mad at Tom for other stuff besides getting ready for the tournament. Like, one of the daughters was having a date with one of the family members of Murtaugh. Obviously, Tom, the dad of the family, was he was uncomfortable with this a little bit, so he decides to go to the theater. And surprise, surprise, Jimmy Murtaugh, the dad of that family, is also there. So they ruin the date for him because they eventually realize they're there because they were fooling around at the theater or whatever. So the daughter is really mad at him for that. But eventually the family decides to go and support Tom. They have a little moment where the family talks to each other. And if you watch the movie, you'll understand why that is. But the family eventually comes just before the tournament starts to help him out. Then we get to see some of the activities that they did and stuff like that. And at the end of the tournament, and mind you, it isn't just the Murtaughs and the Bakers who are in this tournament. There are other big families that are doing it. But it just so happens that the Murtaughs and the Bakers had a tie in the tournament, so they have to do this canoe race. And I guess I kind of forgot to mention this at the beginning of my review, but one of the girls in the family, the biggest, or not the biggest, oh my god, the oldest daughter in the family, who is now 24 in this film, has a baby. So her water breaks during the canoe race, so they have to rush to the hospital. And they're trying to signal the Murtaughs during the race to get them to go help them rush her to the hospital and help her deliver. And the dad thinks this is all a joke, but the other kids, they want to help her because they think something is actually going wrong. But as you know, Jimmy's really competitive. He's not trying to lose. So the kids basically kind of are trying to tell him something because they're all leaving the boat and the dad's really angry. So we get a moment there. It's hard to explain it. Unless you watch the film, you'll understand this moment where all the kids jump out of the boat on the Murtaugh, in the Murtaugh family. They jump out of the canoe and they go to help the family. Unless you watch the movie, you'll understand, why it's emotional and why it's important in the film. Because it's really hard to explain, much like Daddy Daycare and Daddy Day Camp, unless you watch the movie. But they go to the hospital, and they deliver the baby, and while they're at the hospital, two of the older kids in both families, throughout the film, they've decided what they kind of want to do next in life, what's their job that they want to stick with. And we learned that the dads aren't really happy about what they want to do and stuff like that. One of the daughters in the Murtaugh family wants to be an artist, and the dad wants her to work for this business industry. So you could see why he doesn't really agree with that. But eventually, at the end of the film, he decides to let her do what she wants to do. And the same thing happens with the Baker family. The oldest son, Charlie, wants to open up his own garage out of town from where they live. So the dad also agrees to that, Tom. So we get that moment before we go into the delivery room and we see the new baby, and the oldest daughter decides to name it Tom after her father because her father taught her a lot of good lessons, and she wants to use it as kind of like to symbolize that she cares for her father and that he was a good father and stuff like that. And basically that's where the film ends. So the theme of Cheaper by the Dozen 2 is basically let your kids go after what they want. Sometimes you just kind of sometimes you have to say bye to your kids and let them go down the path that they want to go in life. And that's okay. You know, your kids are going to grow up at some point. So that's kind of the theme of Cheaper by the Dozen 2, because some of their kids have gotten so old that now they don't really have to live with them, and they have to decide their own path, their own jobs to go for and stuff like that, which is very hard for the father and mother because, you know, they've been with them for so long and it's hard to say goodbye to them. So both of these movies, though, you know, despite the Rotten Tomatoes scores and what other people say, I think for the most part the audience itself actually enjoyed these movies quite well. Not an overwhelming majority, but it's about 50-50, you know, between what they think. So the first Cheaper by the Dozen, I think easily gets an 8 out of 10 for me. It's not the absolute best film, but there are some great emotional moments in it, and yeah, just an overall pretty good movie. Definitely above average. And Cheaper by the Dozen 2 gets a 7 out of 10 for me. I think Cheaper by the Dozen, the first one, is just a little bit better, but not a bad sequel compared to the original. Usually the sequels don't do too well, but I think this time they did a decent job at the sequel. And the nice thing was all of the actors were the exact same, so you didn't get crappy new actors and stuff like that. They all acted the same. You could still see the same personalities between the first film and the second film, so that was a really nice bonus with Cheaper by the Dozen. So I definitely recommend these two films if you haven't watched them yet. I think there will be, if you're an emotional person when it comes to movies, I think you will cry in these at least a couple of times, so don't be surprised if that does happen. So yeah, that is it for the movie review today. Alright, so just make sure you are reading the community posts that you know what videos are going to be coming up next. Probably not some book reviews for a while, except I should be able to get this new Diary of a Wimpy Kid book that's going to be coming out. It's not a Diary of a Wimpy Kid, but it's another Raleigh Jefferson's journal. It's like called like Spooky Stories or something like that. I'm going to have to go to the bookstore as soon as possible to get that book, and it should be a quicker read because obviously it's a Jeff Kinney book. It's going to be shorter than a Goosebumps book because it's faster going through the pages and stuff like that. So I would like to read that so that I can get ready for the ranking that will be coming up in about 6 months. So you know, don't get too excited yet. It won't be till like the end of the year, but I do have to read it so that I can get ready for when that ranking comes, and we'll have even more books to rank. It's going to get bigger and bigger, so crazy. But other than that, stay tuned for the channel rant, maybe some gameplays, probably some more movie reviews, so that's all of what you can expect. Just read the community post so that you know exactly what I'm going to be doing. And join the Discord, the link will be in the description. And stay tuned for my streams. It's summertime officially. I'll be able to stream a lot more consistently and hopefully upload more often, frequently. So other than that, like and subscribe.